On this video, I'm going to talk to you about Passover. In a couple of days, Jews from around the world will be celebrating Passover, the Exodus from Egypt. And on the night of Passover, Jews from around the world congregate in their homes and they recite around the table the story of the Exodus. I'm going to start off with the verse in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, in the recital of the Passover story. We recite as follows in the Passover story. This is a custom that we recite. In every generation, a person is obligated to envision as if he or she left Egypt on the night of Passover, the night of Pesach. Now, how could you envision something which you never experienced? How is that possible? To envision leaving Egypt when you never left Egypt in the first place. You can't even begin to fathom what it was being in Egypt, being a slave in Egypt. So what does this verse mean? What is this custom all about? I'll tell you what it means. It doesn't mean that we have to actually envision as if we were in Egypt, because we cannot possibly imagine what it was like being in Egypt. What it actually means is that we need to envision and imagine that we have left our own Egypt, our own captivity, our own slavery, and everybody has their own Egypt. For one person, they disempower themselves by being a people's pleaser. And I'm not sure if I've told you this before, but being a people's pleaser is just as bad as drinking alcohol or taking drugs. It's not good for you, and it can kill you. So that's for one person. Another person, they keep to a very bad food diet. And they eat very bad food, which is not good for them. I'm gonna raise my hand here. This week I ate a lot of junk food. One of my sins for this week. I hope to change that in the coming week over Passover. A little difficult with the Passover food, but we'll do our best. Best I could. I don't want to get fat. I don't want to get overweight. But getting back to the story of Passover. Another person doesn't keep a very good diet with their speech. They're a gossiper. And they judge others without ever experiencing what that other person had to endure, had to experience. Another person is unkind towards themselves. They are judgmental towards themselves. So on the night of Passover, they are requested to envision leaving their own Egypt, and now they are kind towards themselves, and they are not unkind towards themselves. That is the message that the sages want to instill with the Passover message in the Haggadah. B'chol dor vador, this is the Hebrew version. I'll translate it right away after I finish, don't worry. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות עצמו כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים, כאילו היא יצאה ממצרים. In every generation, every single person has to imagine as if they left Egypt. There's another way to look at this idea of every generation you need to imagine and envision you left Egypt. There's another way to look at it, and that is that by the law of nature, if we envision our successes, if we envision that we have now kept to a healthy diet, to a good diet with our speech, we've protected ourselves, so we've stopped being a gossiper, and we stopped judging others unkindly. We envision it, and we imagine it, we can hence see the results. On a similar note, and Napoleon Hill talks a lot about this in his book, he says that when you envision your wealth, you envision yourself in a frame of wealth, and you start off with a switchboard and you really believe in it, you'll see the results. Results come thereafter. These things take time, especially if you've been programmed, conditioned, and indoctrinated with negativity for many, many years of your life. if you've been in a scarce and a poverty mindset for many, many years of your life, you can't just come along now and say, okay, I envision myself being rich now. Because your brain is like, how? I don't know what that, what is that? What is rich? How can I give you richness? And the brain is constantly eavesdropping on what you say. So if you told yourself and you had fed to yourself for years and years and years this idea that you cannot be rich, you can't just become rich overnight. It's a lot more work. And that's part of this concept of in every generation, a person has to envision, has to imagine as if they left Egypt. How does that correlate to my channel? My channel is about spirituality. My channel is about my own transgender journey and my own insights, which I've gained along the journey, along the trajectory. So how does my own personal journey and my spiritual journey, which I want to make my channel about, how does it connect to this message of in every generation you need to envision as if you left Egypt? Well, the idea is that being a spiritual person is all about refining the mind, tuning in the mind to a very deep-seated idea of personal love, of self-love, of self-care. That's what spirituality is all about. It's all about self-love, self-care, knowledge of the self, not reliant on others for your own happiness, reliant upon yourself for your own happiness, not afraid to be alone in certain situations, in certain circumstances, and to take yourself to a situation and a predicament of being alone at times if you have to, because you simply cannot be around people who are not good for your mental health and not good for your spiritual health. That's what spirituality is all about. Spirituality is about removing yourself from the people's pleaser mindset. It's about envisioning a beautiful, blissful, positive future. That's what spirituality is really all about. And the night of Passover, when we have left Egypt, we have experienced the Exodus. That is the perfect night for us to envision, to imagine that blissful state of positivity of our own Exodus in the process. Envision it. Today I was looking at an interesting topic. I wanted to see if there's any channels out there on YouTube which talk about this combination of spirituality and being transgender. I'm transgender and I don't shy away from it. I live life to two different genders and I'm very proud of it. And I wanted to see, are there other channels out there that talk about this? And I've come across quite a few different channels that speak about it. My memory fails me exact names, but I came across quite a few channels where this is spoken about. And the idea which is being suggested in the process is actually that people who are transgender are light workers. They've come into this world and they faced immense rejection in order to learn self-love, in order to learn self-care, and I've seen this from Robert Schwartz as well. Robert Schwartz, as he's known in short. He says transgender people, he doesn't say that we are light workers, but he says transgender people have to be courageous, have to be brave, have to really learn how to love themselves on a very deep level, have to take themselves out of the Egypt of the reliance on others. And in the process, the people around them learn from them and have to also change their ways and become accommodating to something which is like a little difficult. You know, you're dealing with neighbors and friends who frown upon it and don't see it in a kind light. And they throw questions at you and even mock you. And you have to remain strong despite all that, despite those fears, despite that intimidation. You need to remain strong. And that's what we as transgender people come here to do. We come here to be mature. We come here to say, this is who I am. You might not understand it. You might struggle with it because you never went through a similar experience yourself. But that's still who I am. And that's who God created me to be. And because, thank God, there's support out there for transgender people today. God put out there that support. It was God's doing. There's medical support for transgender people, which is what God did in the process. There wasn't that medical support years ago, but today there is. That's what my message is about. It's about positivity, it's about spirituality, it's about using any situation. Anybody who has been sidelined, anybody who has been left in a situation, in a predicament of being ridiculed for who they are, anybody who is not part of the mainstream, so to speak, they are in this predicament of having to really go out of that Egypt, their own suffering. I wanted to carry on and talk about a part of the Haggadah of Passover, the recital of the story of Passover, which discusses the various different questions which the different type of children ask at the Seder, ask at the Passover recital. And I'm going to talk about the 4 different types of sons or daughters. The Chacham, the wise person, the Rasha, person who is evil. And another way to look at the word evil, it means that a person who just, everything's permitted for them. They don't keep any filters, and they don't think twice before they do things. The Tam, who's the child who is very gullible, very innocent, and doesn't really understand things. And there's the She'eno Yodea Lishol, which quite literally means a child who doesn't know how to ask. Is not aware of how to ask questions in the first place. So in the Haggadah of Passover, in the recital of Passover, we need to we need to allow and accommodate all different types of people, all different types of sons to ask their questions. And we don't put any limitations. We don't stop anybody from asking questions on the night of Passover. Everybody's welcome on the night of Passover. And that's why the night of Passover starts with the prayer of Ha lachma anya di achala vatana, which includes the message of everyone's welcome to my house, and everyone's welcome to sit and join us for the Passover Seder. And the wise sages remained awake until the early hours of the morning, reciting the Passover story and the beautiful customs included. And they recited as well their own exodus when they left Egypt, their own leaving of Egypt, because everybody has their own type of Egypt. The Haggadah illustrates that. It's about everybody's personal Egypt. And that's my message tonight. Did you enjoy tonight's message? I look forward to seeing your amazing like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, it's never too late to drop that amazing push of that subscribe button. I look forward to seeing your amazing likes, your amazing comments. Can't wait to see your amazing comments. I love your feedback. Your feedback is awesome. It gives me an inkling on how to put out great material, more material to help you in your life and help give you tips and ideas on how to preserve yourself, empower yourself, and become strong in the process. I love you all. Have a great Passover. I look forward to seeing your great comments. Take care.